This is going to be my 1-year ownership video of my 2020 Ram 1500 Laramie. So I ordered this truck in March of last year. It was built about a month later. I ended up ordering the truck because we couldn't find one that matched all the options that I wanted that was already built or on a dealership lot somewhere. I had some specific things I wanted, like the air suspension, the 12-inch Uconnect screen, the advanced driver assistant features like adaptive cruise control, Laramie level 2, and so forth. So option up, this truck ended up stickering for just under $69,000, but with some nice incentives at the time, and the fact that I definitely wasn't going to keep this vehicle for 5 to 10 years, things like that. I honestly don't really keep anything for that long. I ended up leasing this truck, and it worked out very nicely. 3-year, 36,000 mile lease, so 12,000 miles a year, no money down. My payments ended up being around $550, and to me, that stood as a great deal for just a daily driver. Peace of mind when driving on the road through all seasons, given the fact that I had wheel and tire package on the truck, and it's a truck, so potholes and other atrocious roads in Michigan and the Midwest weren't as much of a concern. Very practical and spacious, both up front and the back for camera gear. Pickup bed also, I mean, I did use it. Recently moved an engine block for a friend. When I was moving myself, it was very convenient getting furniture at the store, and I figured let me try out a pickup truck, and given the fact that it was a well-optioned, air suspension, comfortable ride, pretty comfortable, nice Laramie, I decided to go for it. Now, we are 1 year into it, and I've only put 7,500 miles on it. There are a couple reasons for that. One of which is I haven't been traveling as much over the last year. Second one, I have the luxury of having a sports car that when the weather is nice out, that's when I'm usually driving. And then also when I have vehicles to review, oftentimes the truck will sit there for a week or two not being driven. So I definitely am a bit behind on miles, but I did want to talk about the 1-year ownership update and what are the things that I ended up loving and hating about this truck. Before we get into that, we should talk about the cost. Like I mentioned, the sticker price is just under $69,000, despite a discount there in my lease price. With sales tax, usually when you lease the vehicle, you only pay sales tax on your lease payment, so that's a savings there. And even better, in Michigan, they take out your sales tax on a month-by-month basis. Halfway through, I did move to Illinois, which for leases, they still require you to pay the sales tax up front. So that was about $1,500 over the course of my 3-year lease sales tax. So that was paid. Insurance is about normal for a vehicle like this. Gas, again, it is a more thirsty pickup truck with a V8 up front, averaging probably around 15 mpg. I can actually check that. It's got a big fuel tank with 33 gallons, so that means I still have some pretty good fuel range. But otherwise, looks like over the last 1,400 miles, I've got 16.8 mpg. That's actually pretty good. Hemi e-torque. So what are some of the things that I loved about this truck? Well, one of them is the interior quality materials. This is the Laramie trim, so it's a little higher up, but coming from something like an Audi RS7, which is definitely a premium level vehicle, I wanted something that has some nicer touches on the inside, and the creature comforts and material quality is absolutely there. Things like all the stitched leather, and then the steering wheel, stitching across the door, things like that, leather on the seats, they're heated and cooled, heated steering wheel. Another thing I really loved is the Uconnect screen, upgrading to the 12-inch. You can split it top to bottom. I always usually have Apple CarPlay running on top of my controls for seat heats and things like that, seat heating and cooling. You can split with navigation. It's actually a very nice screen. It looks great. It's easy to use, intuitive, and you still have physical buttons on either end. So 12-inch Uconnect screen is absolutely great. Air suspension is another one. Ride quality is important, especially living somewhere where the road surfaces resemble, I mean, it looks like somebody ran through it with a plow and just left it that way a lot of times. There are potholes that would swallow a smart car. So air suspension is nice because it helps dampen a lot of that, and it's just a more comfortable, isolated ride. And I don't think any other mainstream truck like the F-150, the Ram, and the Silverado would offer air suspension, which almost immediately ruled out those for me and made me want to get a Ram. It really did stand out to me when I drove a couple of these new generation Rams. I'm like, wow, they're actually really comfortable. So that was definitely one of the things that I wanted. I'm a big fan of the styling. I got the night edition on the pearl white paint, so I think it looks really nice. It's a little bit dirty now. I don't think I've actually washed it since it stopped being winter, so it definitely needs a detail to clean up and everything. Something else I really loved is kind of actually random, but it's the center console. It's actually really nicely designed, this entire area. So we have this sliding tray that will lock into various positions. It has two cup holders, it holds some change, and they have just a big opening that I have some camera gear, some keys in there right now. And then up front we have a holder for your phone that is a wireless charging on one side. The other side, you can just put another phone in there with a little opening for you to plug in the charging cable, plenty of charging ports, another little shelf there. Underneath here, we have a full power point there, and when you slide the cover, it hides it, but underneath there is plenty of storage space. Same with this entire center console. I just think this is well designed, and it's possible because they moved the transmission selector dial as a rotary knob on the actual dash. And again, it's electronic, so it doesn't need any physical specific hardware. There's nothing linking anymore. It's literally electronic. So this center area here is freed up, very practical, and I really, really like this. I actually thought that was a downside on the TRX. Yeah, the TRX is more sporty, but it has the physical shifter, and you lose out on this kind of ingenious center console area. The last thing I really loved about having this truck was just finally having something I didn't have to worry a ton about. Like my Audi S4, that was all right, but moving into something like the RS7, or when driving things like an R8 or anything that exotic or expensive or luxurious, you have to be very, very careful with the places you're going to park it. I always parked way far away in parking lots, even if it was 2 degrees outside and dumping snow and you had to walk all the way in because you don't want door dings on the car. And you always felt a little bad about subjecting a car like the RS7 to the crappy roads and the salt and all of that. Now, again, that car stood as something that was one of my nicest things that I had. I loved the vehicle, but I wasn't quite one of those extremely, extremely successful people who could just write off a $80,000 Audi. This, I didn't worry as much about. Part of it was the fact that it is a more mainstream truck. Parts are cheaper, labor is cheaper, wearables, consumables are much cheaper. It's also enormous, so probably that's actually one of the things I didn't always love about it, but it's just nice to have something you don't need to worry about. The air suspension and tires were fine. I had wheel and tire package, so if I did end up doing something to a wheel or a tire, it would be covered. Also, especially given the fact that it was a lease, I wasn't quite as losing my mind. Under warranty, brand new built vehicle. Just been great. Worry-free miles, pretty much. Actually, not pretty much. Worry-free miles, absolutely. So now, what are some of the things that I hated about the truck? There's one big thing that really stood out that, oh man, it's bad. So I did option the full safety suite tech things. So adaptive cruise control, lane keep, warning. It does have the 360 sensors, the 360 overhead camera, which is really nice. But the backup warning is super sensitive. And when I went to check, you go into settings, you're going to do safety and driving assistance, I think. Let's see, park sense. The rear park sense braking assist is on or off. The front park sense, it has a sensitivity setting. You can go low, medium, or high, but the reverse is either on or off, and the backup one is super sensitive. So when just reversing into a parking space slowly, nothing's in the way, it would pick up, I don't know, the snow or things like that, and it would slam on the brakes. And it happened a lot. Me just trying to back up or do a 3-point turn, you get the angry warning message, alert, alarm, whatever the warning message is, and it would full slam on the brakes. Now, you weren't going fast. We're doing 5 miles an hour, but it's still you're like, what happened? Did I hit something? No, I didn't. It just decided to freak out to the point where I turn it off. Backing up, I still have the beeping, I have the sensors, I have all the cameras, I can manage. So I turned that off. I do wish it had a sensitivity setting because I feel it was too overly sensitive. You could tell I'm a little worked up on that because it really bugged me. Because I tolerated the first 3 times of it slamming on the brakes, and after that I was like, no, I'm turning that off. I don't need that anymore. But the front braking is definitely nice. We can change the sensitivity of that. Adaptive cruise control, all the other sensors are great. Now, the next thing that I didn't always love, I sort of hated about it, is sometimes the size, but that's not the fault of the truck. That's me as the consumer, as what I use my vehicles for. I will say, though, I put it in this category of something I didn't love, is trucks are getting enormous. They're huge. This is not even the longest version. This is the 5'7" bed. You can get the long cabin with a 6'4" bed. This already is longer than most parking spots. And parking garages, you're doing 3-point turns, being real careful. Lower the air suspension down so you're entry-exit mode to make sure you're not going to scrape anything. The turning radius is huge. Try to put in the parking spots. It's a big truck. And if you look at a mid-2000s, 1500 size truck like this or an F-150 or something like that, this is significantly bigger. And when we're talking the full-size heavy-duty ones, also spent some time in a Chevy Silverado 3500 HD dually. Haha, that thing is colossal. You feel like you're driving a small semi-truck. But again, this Ram 1500 is pretty big in some situations, so be aware. If you live in a city, I wouldn't recommend it. Like a downtown area, like downtown Chicago, I've taken this there and I kind of just find the biggest parking lot that I can find, a big underground structure, leave it there and we'll walk around. Trying to parallel park this. I don't think I've parallel parked this truck at all in an entire year. I don't think I did it a single. It does have park assist. I never used it. I just would avoid doing anything that had to put this large size of a truck. And again, like I said, this is not the truck's fault. This is not trucks of that's just the way it is. And maybe I'm not the truck person. I don't live on a farm. That's a stereotype. I don't live somewhere stupid, like very rural or things like that. I'm in the suburbs of Chicago, but it's a very, very comfortable daily driver, and if I wanted to tow, I could, so I had that capability. I can seriously say in my year of ownership, that's really the only thing that I hated about this truck. It's actually been great. It's a fabulous, luxurious, comfortable, practical, utilitarian vehicle. I mean, bedliner out back already, so I put stuff back there. Wasn't worried about scraping up. We had like the rails on the side. I was able to strap down a Viper V10 engine block. It didn't move at all. Drove it all the way from Michigan out to Chicago in the snow. I put it in 4-wheel drive auto, and it just took care of everything. I'm actually in 4-wheel drive auto right now. Why am I doing that? It's 80 degrees outside. 2-wheel drive. It's 80 degrees outside. I am so happy. 2-wheel drive again. Okay. Oh yeah, but in the snow, it was fine. I remember driving back from Michigan once, snowing pretty hard. Some guy just stopped in the middle of the freeway, hazards on. Truck handled it fine. Not a single problem. This entire winter was great. So that's been my experience with a Ram 1500 for 1 year. I have 2 years left on a lease, but we're getting to the point of the video where I'm going to be very honest and say I have the attention span of a goldfish when it comes to cars, and I'm actually getting rid of this truck early. It suits a lot of my needs very, very well as a daily driver for the snow that I don't need to worry about, but due to some changing circumstances, access to trucks in other ways, press vehicles, things like that, I don't think I use the truck as a truck enough. A lot of the times I'm in the cabin. I usually will just put camera gear in the cabin. I don't throw it back into the bed, even though I do have the Mopar bed cover, so I can. I've put furniture back there, all sorts of stuff, so very practical. An SUV or crossover might work better for me, especially when I'm filming those videos, getting rolling shots, B-roll, things like that, the way I use my vehicle. Will I miss this truck? Actually, a little bit. I have one big long road trip back. I'm going to drive 300 miles back to Michigan this weekend before it gets dropped off. But an opportunity came up for me to move on from this truck to a different vehicle, and I don't know what vehicle I'm going to be driving. Actually, I'm borrowing one of my parents' Ford Fusions for a little bit, so I will be daily driving that for a bit. But before this went away, I wanted to do this video talking about my 1-year ownership experience with this Ram 1500. I did go out, order the truck. It has my name on the window sticker. This was built for me exactly the way I wanted. I think it looks great with the night package and the pearl white paint. It's been luxurious, comfortable. It took me through a Chicago winter without a problem. Plenty of road trips back and forth to Michigan, hauling some stuff. I did go out when I was filming videos and things like that. I used the vehicle. It's a great truck, and I still am firmly convinced that it's the best one in the segment. Now, I did spend a brief amount of time with the new F-150 Power Boost. I will be getting some more time with that again, so we'll see how my opinion changes there, but that is a newer generation truck compared to this one, which is a 2020. I think the first model year was 2019. I actually was at the debut of that at the Detroit Auto Show. I have a cool little model of the Ram. But anyways, some people did also ask me, TRX versus my Laramie, which one would I rather have? But this is by far a better daily driver, without a single doubt. The TRX is more fun, obviously. It's hilarious. It makes no sense. It's absurd. I feel like getting 8 mpg would get a little bit tiring after a bit, but launch control would make up for that. That truck is less practical too, especially it had the 5th wheel mounted in the bed from Mopar. It just was not as practical of a truck. This is much more comfortable, quieter, more refined, way better value. This was $70,000. A TRX, you're going to have to spend pretty much $100,000 to get one of those things. But would I rather have a TRX? Sure, of course. I'm not going to say no to a supercharged V8 pickup truck that could tackle all sorts of terrains. Do I regret getting a Laramie and not waiting a year? Because there were rumors that there was going to be a Hellcat engine-derived Ram 1500 coming. Did I regret not waiting a year? Not at all. Again, this was cheaper. I got a really good deal on it. It's way more comfortable, better for my road trips and things like that. I wouldn't want to do 300 miles to Michigan and back with a TRX every weekend. That would get really, really tiring, I think. Not only that, I'd probably deplete the world's oil reserves really quickly. Regardless, this is my time with the Ram 1500 Laramie. I think I will miss this truck at some point, but that's the way it is. New cars are always more fun to continue to try and play with new ones. If you have any questions about the Ram, let me know. I didn't film a ton of videos in my year with it because honestly, I just did daily driver duty and only 7,500 miles on it over the course of a year. But yeah, 1 year. And moving on. Those are the things that I love and hate about the Ram. Overall, I would give this 2 thumbs up. I would recommend it in this segment. Hemi. Oh, we didn't talk much about the engine. The Hemi e-torque. Great. I debated the eco diesel, ran a bunch of numbers, and I'd have to drive like, with current diesel prices and gas prices at the time, you'd have to drive like 140,000 miles to recoup the price delta of the diesel. I think the eco diesel is like a $4,000 price increase. I did these numbers like a year ago, so I don't remember exactly. I think the Hemi e-torque is the way to go. If you don't want the e-torque at the regular Hemi, that's fine. E-torque just really does help with stop-start and things like that, running some of your accessories. I think that it's fabulously paired with the ZF 8-speed automatic transmission. Sounds good on cold starts and things like that, and under load, it's plenty of power to get you up and moving in a fairly large-sized pickup truck. And with that, we shall conclude this video. Thanks for watching.